Tighten your lines as we get ready to sail the seven seas on the Political Pirate Podcast. Join Captain Ted Yoho and the salty dog, John Martin, as they search far and wide for the greatest treasure of all, the truth. From local Florida news to nationwide stories and the globe beyond, we've got it all mapped out. Now here's your hosts, the salty dog, John Martin, and Captain Ted Yoho.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 3 Ps, our Political Pirate Podcast, featuring yours truly, the host, the old salty dog, and the captain of our pirate ship, Mr. Ted Yoho. Good morning, Ted.
Good morning, John. Good to see you, buddy. You look like you're in rare form today, and I got my captain's hat on today.
I see that, man. Yeah, I'm good. I came off a fishing trip yesterday and had a good trip. The weather was a bit rough with that tropical deal that was out there, but overall we got back safe and we caught a few fish, and I won the snapper jackpot. So life is good, brother.
Did you really? That's great, man.
I had about a 16.
Amount you catch?
No, I had the biggest snapper. I had a 16-pound American red snapper.
Wow.
In the beautiful Gulf of America, by the way.
Gulf of America.
Gulf of America, man. I love that. Well, Ted, let's get right into it here. You know, these stories.
We got a great show coming up. You did a great lineup.
Sometimes they just kind of write themselves. Well, I want to talk a little bit about what's happening around the country with the immigration enforcement, the ICE agents, and how they're coming under fire. And this story just jumped out at me. This comes to you from Breitbart. Check this out, Ted. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, who, by the way, is the first woman president, I believe, of Mexico, is considering legal action. In other words, she's threatening to sue Immigration and Customs ICE agency after a Mexican farm worker fell to his death during an immigration raid in California. Now, this guy, we're going to show a video in just a moment, but this guy went up on the roof of one of the greenhouses and fell off on his own, was not attacked by anyone, was illegal there, and ICE was doing what they're supposed to be doing all along. Now, what are your thoughts on this in general? Then we're going to play a short video to kind of give people a feel for what was actually happening there, Ted.
Yeah, I know. This is interesting because, first off, you got to ask the question, why did this happen? This happened because of the policy of the Biden and Harris administration. You know, they allowed all these people to come in. The second thing that happened is he is here illegally. And the third thing is you're going to show in this video of what happened is he ran to get out of the way, and, you know, he went up on a roof. And anytime you go on a roof, there's challenges. And for her to sue, I mean, it's lunacy. And, you know, she's just going to cause more dissension, and she's going to rile up that group of people, the progressive left, and she's going to rile up those group of immigrants that are here already protesting and burning the American flag. So good luck.
You know, my first thought when I read this, Ted, was, okay, so you're going to sue the United States of America because no one wants to be in your country.
Right.
You know, in other words, people are fleeing your country to come here because they feel, for whatever reason, they don't want to live in Mexico, which, let's face it, Mexico is a beautiful place in many parts, and you know, is considered a paradise in many. I mean, as far as tourists and stuff like that, it has.
As long as you get rid of the cartels and the gangs and the drugs and, you know, all the nefarious thing, and the Chinese in there that are, you know, in the drug cartels too. Yeah. Other than that, it's a beautiful place.
Well, like, you know, they talk about the United States of America being stolen land and all that kind of stuff. Well, every piece of land is stolen from somebody over the course of history. But if you think about it, Ted, if you look at Mexico as a whole, I'm not talking about the problems they have. I'm talking about the country as far as the potential. Is there any place in the world that potentially has more potential than Mexico? Think of what Mexico would look like if they said, okay, we want Donald Trump, the businessman, and Trump Entertainment to run Mexico. It would be a paradise. I mean, people would be flocking there in droves and everything else, but they're running to get here because they've away from all that stuff you just mentioned. But she turns around, instead of looking at her own country and what can we do to make it where people don't flee here, to we're going to take further advantage of the United States. It makes no sense on that level.
No, she's off base on this. Those are all good points you brought up. Trump took it over, it'd be huge and beautiful. And, people would want to stay there. And this is the thing with people all over the world that are fleeing their countries to come here. And I know you have that video at the very end of the Cuban American businessman. And I think that speaks loudly. They came here for opportunity. And when I was in Congress, I would ask people from all over the world, the ministers that would come in, ambassadors and their presidents. I said, I assume in your country, you want the same thing we want. We want security and peace, in our country. And we want a better life and future for our children. Every one of them said that. And the people that come here, they want security and liberty.
Yeah, what you're talking about, we're going to play it towards the end of the show, but we'll go ahead and mention it again now.
Sure.
Maximo Alvarez at the Republican convention when Trump was running for re-election the first time. And I love the last thing he says we'll give a teaser and let people, when he says his father said about America, there's no place left to go. In other words, we're here. There's no other place to go if you want freedom. But
I bring that up with these people that say, well, I'm going to go to Portugal, I'm going to go to Mexico. And I'm like, seriously? I said, if America fails, you're not going to be safe anywhere in the world. So, people need to think about that.
Absolutely. Well, the president of Mexico, this is what she said about potentially suing the United States of America over the death of this illegal immigrant. She said, we're supporting the family. We're in contact with them, and we're also exploring the possibility of filing a complaint in the U.S. because this is unacceptable. Unacceptable. She says it's unacceptable. But I like how she says here, we're supporting the family. How are you supporting the family if they have to run from the country that you govern? I mean, the circular logic in this is just crazy.
Well, it's lunacy, like I said. Focus on your own country, create jobs, get rid of the cartels, get your government under control and not being controlled by the government of the cartels.
Yeah, why don't you make your country a place where people want to come to rather than run from? Who's leaving America besides Rosie O'Donnell and people like that? No one.
Yeah.
The only people that are fleeing America, and some of them I don't want to put in that category of fleeing America, that are leaving is because they can live a richer lifestyle with their money. A multimillionaire can live like a billionaire in places like Mexico. So I know a few people that are doing that, but the only ones that are actually what I call fleeing, saying, well, we're getting out of there, we can't live there in America anymore, are people that have extreme means. In other words, the average person is not fleeing. You don't hear people saying in Canada, oh, we got to shut the border down because all these Americans are fleeing to Canada. Certainly not to Mexico. But we're going to play this video, Ted, here. Just a short snippet of it. I would encourage people to watch.
Well, let me interrupt you, John, because remember last week we talked about the Americans in Mexico, and the Mexicans were complaining about there's too many Americans.
Yeah. They had a protest. I'm glad you brought that up. They had a protest in Mexico City a week or so over 4th of July, actually.
It happens in Portugal and Spain, too.
Yes, saying there are too many Americans here and they're disrupting our lifestyle. And
no más gringos aquí.
Yeah. The one thing you don't hear them say is that they're bringing a criminal element here. They don't really say that. But that's a good point. But I want to play this short video. And I want to set this up. So what's happening here, this is kind of in the middle of the story, but the ICE agents are doing a raid on this pot growing farm. It's a legal pot growing farm, but they suspect a couple things. One, they know that there's illegals working there. They suspect that, and they're proven right, that there are unaccompanied minors working there, and that there are people there with extensive criminal records. All of this proved to be true, but during that time, they had not only did they arrest a professor later on that threw a tear gas canister back at the agents, but they are looking for a guy then they put like, I think, a $50,000 reward out for a guy that took shots at the ICE agents. And you can see that on this video. Let's watch it and we'll come back and talk.
At one point, a man appeared to be firing a gun, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Melissa Tapia says she was waiting to hear from her family who worked at the farm.
They took my brother, they took his phone away. They're banging on there, not letting people out.
In neighboring Santa Barbara County,
and there you have it. You see this guy running. He's a supposed protester. Whether or not he's illegal, we don't know. They're trying to find out who the guy is. And by the way, as I said, there's, I think, a $50,000 reward. So go get the money and get this guy. But he's taking pot shots with a pistol at the ICE agents there. And but these people are being defended by the political left. We say that, but really and truly, Ted, the more I see what's happening, we're going to talk more about it in a moment, but there is no political left. There's just the Democratic Party. That's what the Democratic Party is. People are trying to separate them, and I've been guilty of that myself. If you look at the leadership of the Democratic Party, there is no political left, because that implies there's a moderate wing. Where's the moderate wing? You just came back from D.C., Ted. Where's the moderate wing of the Democratic Party? Does it even exist?
They are up there, but they're holding their heads down. They're being quiet. They don't want to be seen because they don't want to have to be drawn into the liberal, progressive, Marxist communists. And they know they're in trouble, especially with leadership they have in the House and in the Senate. And then you look at the people that are being elevated on the national scenes to be the next leaders. You know, I mean, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, give me a break, as the top contender for a Senate seat in Texas. And then you have Zohran Mamdani, the avowed socialist communist. And we're going to talk more about him. And so the progressive left, they're rabid. I mean, they think they're going to do something and they're going to change America. And this all goes back to, you know, AOC when she first came in, the utopian that she was promoting. It was a Venezuelan type utopian, you know, socialism. And that's all you have to do is look at Venezuela. That's what they want to bring to America. And they're doing it some of these big cities, Chicago, New York, California. And the American people don't want that. And that, you know, as we've talked about in the past, that will lead to a civil war in this country if they don't change direction. And we're going to change direction by the people we educate, activate, or motivate and activate.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned Miss Crockett there of Texas. And I don't know if you saw this or not, but Donald Trump, of course, he says some things flippant every now and then. He's very good at what he does, but he's challenged her to an IQ test. And here's the thing that troubles me about, I mean, I like what he said, but here's the thing that he did. He publicly challenged her to an IQ test. But see, the thing that troubles me, Ted, is like you take Miss Crockett, and we've played this before, but she's no dummy. The whole thing she's doing, the jive she's doing and all that is a total act. She's a law school graduate, a lawyer that was pretty successful by any measure. And she knows what she's talking about and the act she is. And she is a product of everything that makes America great. She really is a product of that. But yet
that's what I understand.
That's what's frustrating, Ted.
They succeed in a system that they want to tear down, and then they go to the people that aren't as successful, or they just haven't grasped a hold of the opportunity, and they're saying it's because of these people over here, the oligarchs, the rich white people. It's their fault you haven't succeeded, even though they succeeded at the very thing that made this country great for anybody. It's crazy.
Well, and the thing about it, and we're going to get into it when we talk about Mamdani in a minute, but we might as well bring some of it up right now, that it's typical communist thinking, because communists, if you look at the communist system, it creates, or the fascists, as they're wanting to call Donald Trump, it creates a very small group of elite people that live a certain life. You know, the members of the Politburo in Russia, they live the high life. They live the life greater than even like somebody like Donald Trump in many cases. You know, they're not subject to the laws unless they, you know, go the wrong way and then they get taken out. But Crockett and people like her, the only thing I can explain that, because they know better, that's what gets me, is that they realize that they're just doing it for power,
They are.
grandiosement. That's what they're doing it for.
They're hoodwinking their constituents, pretending to fight against the evil war or lords over capitalism, and they've taken advantage of it and they've succeeded at it. But they're hoodwinking their constituents and saying we're going to fight these bad people, these slave owners, and it's crazy. It's divisive politics, and that's what's dividing America. I do not see one person in any party other than the Republicans trying to bring this country together, trying to bring them into the success principles of this country that anybody can achieve. I don't see one person on the Democrat side or the progressive side doing that. It's all tear down.
Well, I want to play another video here, and this is from what I know is becoming one of your favorite people, Mr. Hakeem Jeffries, who wants to be the next Speaker of the House. God help us if that actually were to happen.
Before you go into that, I want the audience to look at his mannerisms, see how robotic he is. I served with him my whole 8 years in Congress. He's very robotic, and he's very word-searching. And he has the mannerisms in his hands of a young Obama. And I think he wants to be like that, but he just doesn't have the charisma.
Absolutely. Well, here he is. Now, this was a week or so ago. He's talking about ICE agents. And of course, this comes off of them being called Gestapo agents and all of that stuff. And these are law enforcement officers. He's talking about them to be unmasked. So let me just play it in his own, and let him speak for his own words, and we'll come back and talk about it. Hakeem Jeffries, I give you.
ICE agent who's engaged in this aggressive overreach and are trying to hide their identities from the American people will be unsuccessful in doing that. This is America. This is not the Soviet Union. We're not behind the Iron Curtain. This is not the 1930s. And every single one of them, no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, will of course be identified. That in fact is the law. And
now there you have it, Ted. There's Hakeem Jeffries, who we were talking about serving with, who wants to be and if the Democrats take the House, will be the next Speaker of the House. God help us. But this is a guy, now he knows that these because the Democrats are doing it. These ICE agents, these federal agents, are being doxxed, which means they're where they live, how they look, their picture, their families. All of that is being put on the internet. They're getting not only death threats, but you had assassination squads trying to kill some of them in Texas. We just showed you a video of them taking shots at these ICE agents, but Hakeem Jeffries wants them to be unmasked. I mean, it's just insane what they're doing.
Really is. And, number one, I want to say thank you to our ICE agents. God bless you for doing the job that you're sent out there to do, that you shouldn't have to be doing had the Democrats closed the border as President Trump. And of course, there are excuses. We need new legislation. We need more money. And Trump said it very accurately when he says you needed a new president. And, he's showing that. But these guys are out there. And let me tell you about doxing, because we got doxed several times in Congress. They put out our name, our phone number, our address, my children's name, their phone numbers and address. They were getting death threats. They were getting vile messages. And I'm just a member of Congress. So you can imagine, and I wasn't arresting anybody, that just the left machine, and that machine is made up of the progressives. It's made up of the foreign governments, China, Russia, North Korea. All these bad players are in that bundle. The Soros is where that money goes, and they're out there to destroy any voice of dissent against that communist agenda.
Absolutely. And I admire your courage. And here's the thing. You make a choice, just like these law enforcement, you make a choice to be in Congress and you serve, but your family has to make that choice with you, because in your case, they're literally under threat themselves. And I don't think the average American really understands what's happening. I'm glad you brought that up.
Well,
Ted.
I know you want to go into that, but think about what Chuck Schumer did about Brett Kavanaugh. Think about you're going to pay for this. You know, when he threatened Brett Kavanaugh, a Supreme Court justice, and basically was telling people where they lived and all that. I mean, those guys need to be held accountable. I mean, that should be criminal charges. It really should.
You're going to reap the whirlwind, I think, is exactly what he said.
Yeah.
But to me, Ted, going back to this thing with Jeffries and wanting them unmasked, this is not really, and to me, is, if I don't make any other point today, I want to make this. This argument is not really a left versus right anymore. It's not the left versus the right. It's about right versus wrong to me. And I'm not trying to say everything coming out of my mouth is always right or Donald Trump or whatever, but you're either law abiding or you're not. You're either going to be a nation of laws or you're not. Change the laws, if you will, but we got some choices to make, Ted, here in this country.
Elections matter. That's why we're here to educate, activate,
and motivate and activate. Yeah, you're absolutely. But like I say, we're getting ready to take a commercial break, but we have some choices to make here. And really, here's the
Your
thing.
Your name could be on this.
Absolutely. It should not. These choices should not be hard. And we're going to come back and play one that I think should be easy, but apparently it's hard. But please like our sponsors, like our show, spread it far and wide. If you'd like to become one, look where it says contact Freddie, call that number, and we'd love to have you as a sponsor. We'll be right back, Ted.
Although the owner of Lewis Oil Company maintains she is 29, Lewis Oil turns 60 years old in June. Chevron would like to recognize the North Florida second-generation family-owned business, celebrating its growth and staying power. Lewis Oil Company maintains significant on-hand supplies, strategically located fuel depots, a delivery fleet, on-site service, fuel card locks, and convenience stores. Lewis Oil Company understands its responsibility in the local economy by providing service and delivery on demand and in crisis. As a first responder for 18 Florida counties and the Southeast from Texas to Virginia, we are proud of this rare accomplishment. Lewis Oil delivers.
This is Ward Scott, and I want to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. The Ward Scott Files premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care.
Meldon Law, the only official injury partner of the Florida Gators.
The Ward Scott Files Gold sponsors are Lewis Oil Company,
Shoot GTR,
On the Spot Dry Cleaners, R&R Construction, and Style Cuts. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, www.wardscottfiles.com, and click on the Advertise Here banner on the right side of the page, or call my friend Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the Ward Scott Files. And remember, if you like the show, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. May God have mercy on your soul.
Or that very much surprises me that you've never been tased.
You can't handle the truth.
All bees poop.
A warthog. He's going to come up the steps. Here he comes. Oh my goodness, and he's huge. Hello, boy. I wonder if we can pet him. Hi, boy.
Can we touch him? No, don't.
Help me! Help! Help!
And we're back to the Political Pirate Podcast featuring the old salty dog and Ted Yoho, the captain of our pirate ship. But when we went to break, we were speaking about some hard choices we need to make in America. Because to me, Ted, it's becoming more of a right versus wrong than left wing versus right wing, because there is no there. The Democratic Party has no moderates, at least, that are vocal and leading the party. I want to play this video. This is just happened while you were, I think, up in D.C. this week. But Zoran Mamdani went up and met with members of Congress, and I just want to play a short snippet of the reaction that these Democrats had to this avowed communist. Check it out.
Yeah, this is great.
We were just learning skills from him, communication skills. It was not about whether we're supporting him or not.
I think he's a very personable, smart young man. And I hope we're not going to have a lot of circular firing squads.
House Democrats there after meeting with the newly minted Democratic.
And we're back. And there you have it. The members of Congress. These are, and many of them were actual leaders of the Democratic Party. I know, Ted, you know all of them. But they're basically saying that this guy, Mamdani, is the real deal. And we need to embrace him and everything else. I mean, it sounds like the perfect choice for them.
You know, it is. And it's interesting because on there you see three types of people on the left, Democrats. Jayapal Pamela, or Pamela Jayapal, she came in with me. She's from, I think it's Washington State or Southern California.
I think she is Washington State.
Washington State. She is the leader of the Progressive Caucus in Congress. And she's probably one of the most progressive people in Congress. You know, it can't get far enough to the left for her. All right, so she is singing his praise. And if you look at her mannerism, she's excited. Her eyes, oh my God. If you don't get behind this guy, then you have that member, the second one. I think her last name was Chavez. Is that right?
I believe you're right.
She's a newer member. So she's she's leaning real far to the left, but she's not as excited. Then you have Debbie Dingell.
The old Dingleberry from Michigan.
That's right, the old guard. And she's like,
she's supposed to be a moderate, Ted.
She's supposed to be a moderate. And she doesn't want to come out and just totally embrace him, but says, oh, he's got some very interesting things. No, they're not. They're communist manifestos, and they want to take over the country. And that, as they keep pushing this, will foment a civil war in America. Get rid of these people, America. Don't vote these people in.
Yeah, well, you and I were talking before the show started, and there's one thing, and I'm going to play this video that kind of proves my point here in just a second. Zoran Mamdani. Now, I don't like anything about the guy except one thing. There's one thing that I got to give him some credit for. Beyond, he's got some political skills, obviously, with the camera and everything else. But the one thing I give him credit for that I don't give too many of them credit for is the guy is at least honest in the sense that he's telling you who he is. He's not trying to hide who he is, which is scary that he's actually in the lead up there because this guy's telling you. He's not like Dingleberry or J. Paul, who is trying to, you know, all these people that were in that video trying to say one thing, be another, all that kind of stuff. This guy is admitting who he is, Ted. I mean, let's play this video.
That's the scary thing.
Go ahead, Ted.
Well, that's a scary thing because who else told us exactly what they were going to do? It was Barack Obama. 5 days before he got inaugurated, we are 5 days away from fundamentally changing or transforming America. And you look at the garbage that came in after him through the Biden and Harris. You look at who they had for the HHS, Rachel Levine, who was really Ralph Levine. You had Sam Britton with his bald head, red lipstick, dresses, high heels, stealing luggage. The whole movement on the transgender, the whole wokeism, the whole DEI, all this garbage, the divide in our country that I've not seen since the 60s, and it's worse today. That's what Barack Obama brought in. We are fundamentally transforming America, and he told us exactly what he's going to do. Do you want more of that, America? Do you want more of that, New York? Pay attention to this guy. Vote him out. Run him out.
Absolutely. And the one dude you mentioned, the luggage stealer, the thing that never hardly gets mentioned is what was that dude in charge of? nuclear waste, for God's sakes. The nuclear waste, they put that dude, the luggage stealer,
I feel
charge
safe
of that.
in America.
I mean, it's just, you can't make this stuff up, man.
You can't.
But here,
That's a Monty Python skit.
here is Zoran Mandani in his own words. As I say, at one level, you got to admire his honesty, but listen to it and believe what this fella is saying, because he will absolutely, I am 100% convinced that he will absolutely do exactly what he says.
If he gets in power, he'll do exactly what he tells you.
Take him at his word. Check it out. Oh, I've been saying, okay.
I had to scratch my head anyway. We'll take this little break here to scratch my head. But John, you brought it up. I mean, this guy's going to do that.
Absolutely.
You know, that's why so many business people said, we are going to leave New York. We're going to take our business out of here. And, you know, that's the kind of fear he has put into the business community. And the business community is the one that employs people. Go ahead, Zach.
Are we ready, Zach? All right, let's play it. Check it out.
Should have housing. And I think faced with these two options, the system has hundreds of thousands of people unhoused, right? For what? And if there was any system that could guarantee each person housing, whether you call it the abolition of private property or you call it, you know, just a statewide housing guarantee, it is preferable to what is going on right now. My platform is that every single person should have housing. And I think faced with these two options, the system has hundreds of thousands of people unhoused, right? For what? And if there was any system that could
I mean, Ted, how much clearer do you have to be? Here's a guy who says that he is for abolishing private property rights. That is at the core of our Constitution. If there's any one thing that is at the core of being America, it is private property rights. That's what really separates us even from other democracies, is our core belief in private property rights. And he's saying, whoop, we could just get rid of it.
Right. And, you know, it's interesting because everybody's heard of the World Economic Forum. I think that's the guy that's the organization Klaus Schwab started. And he's the one that said by 2030, you will own nothing and you will be happy. People like Zidani, AOC, new leaders coming up that are popular, that have a lot of followers on email, they get drafted by the World Economic Forum and they start getting groomed. This guy's being groomed. I can't say by the World Economic Forum, but he's being groomed and getting this message out and putting out there, we're going to get rid of property rights. So 2 or 3 or 4 years from now, that message is out there. And some people that don't own any property, and I used to be like that, are like, yeah, nobody should own all that property. And, you know, this is how that gets insidiously into the society because of people like him. But more importantly, the people that are supporting people like him that want to tear down this country.
Well, the fact, Ted, that this guy could actually win, and if I had to bet on it today, I'd bet that he probably will win with the current field the way it is. But the fact that this guy could win, to me, is scarier than himself. In other words, what I'm saying is the fact that people have to be educated, which is a part of our show, need to get motivated and activated to be for private property rights, is scarier than Mandani himself, because if we have slipped that far that this is even a debate, that you even have the political party like the Democratic Party supporting someone who clearly tells you I'm opposed to private property rights, that is scarier than the man himself.
Really is. And you said, you know, how the Democratic Party has been taken over. Look at how it's been taken over. And they said how Trump hijacked, that their argument is Trump hijacked the Republican Party. What did he hijack? What's he espousing? The Constitution, the love of the country, patriotism, you know, working, you know, doing all these things that made America great. What is the left, the progressive? Look at how they've hijacked the Democratic Party. And what are they espousing? Socialism, communism, you don't own anything, get rid of your guns, open borders, just mayhem and chaos. And that's how you collapse a society. And they've been doing this since Woodrow Wilson.
Well, here's the thing, and I keep harping back to this. We, and I'm talking about we, the American people, regardless of party, whatever, we, the American people, have some choices to make. And the thing that's kind of scares me, Ted, is these shouldn't be hard choices. Have private property rights or not. That should be a really easy choice. So I ask you, Ted, how did we get here? How did we get to this point? And how do we combat this?
Lack of education. You know, we've had a failure in our education system. And then we got to a point where progressives have been pushing this message. It's not your fault if you didn't fail. You shouldn't have to work to eat. You should have a living wage. You can sit at home and you should get a paycheck. You can't build a society or maintain a society. You know, you can look all around the world. When the society becomes complacent, they start to collapse. Think of this next generation. What do they call it? Generation Z or look at the work ethic. Are they going to be able to maintain what we have built? Are they going to maintain the roads? Are they going to maintain the bridges? Are they going to walk around with their cell phone and have, what do they call it now? The Generation Z stare, you know, because they're so used at looking at a device in front of them. They're not going to have the capability of doing that. And God forbid that the internet goes down. These people they'll be the walking zombies. Well, I should say that. I don't mean to bash that generation, but they need to have a wake-up call. And following the Democrat progressives is a disaster, and it'll lead to the demise of this country. It'll lead to a demise of what you're going to have available. If you don't believe that, look in China. China turns off the internet for games during the week, and they have a couple hours that they can play games on the internet with the weekend. That's what's coming if you keep going down this road.
Well, I just had an epiphany while you were talking, Ted. You know how you trigger me.
That's my job.
You stimulate my little old brain to actually kick in a little bit. But I say take them at their word. So you have Mondani sitting here saying, I'm opposed to private property rights. And you wonder, what triggered me is when you said, how are they going to make it, this younger generation? Well, their leaders are telling you that as well, because they want to take the money from the super wealthy, tax them to death, basically, and they want all these illegal immigrants to be in here. Why? So they can wipe our asses. I'm just going to be blunt with you. That's what they're saying. They want these illegal immigrants to come in here and 10-year-olds to be pot farming out there in California and around pedophiles, all this stuff. They want a class of people that'll come in and do the work, they literally say it, that Americans won't do. They don't say that they can't do.
Right.
They say that they won't do. So you put that together, and that's what's happening. They want to be taken care of. It is absolutely ridiculous, because if you look at the animal kingdom, there are no animals that are taken care of unless they're on a farm or in a zoo. Everybody else is running for their life and trying to survive and take care of things. So what separates us from them? It's crazy. I'm sorry, dude. It just gets me on a rant.
I can tell that. That's good. I think you look better with a red blush to you there, John. But
got some color.
We're part of the animal kingdom, and we are no different than them, other than we're supposed to have reasoning. And, it's free will. And if we don't exercise that, it'll turn into tribalism.
Yeah, well, Ted, we're talking about, educating, motivating, and activating people. And I want to play, because this is an immigrant who is a legal resident now, who fled from a communist country, Mr. Moldavi, Mr. Maximo Alvarez. He's a Cuban exile businessman. He spoke at the Republican convention when Donald Trump was running for re-election. And the whole speech is about 10 minutes long. I really encourage people to watch it if they haven't, and get young people to do it. But I'm only going to play about the last 2 minutes of it, because I think it's critically important. Let's listen to Mr. Alvarez in his own words.
Great message.
Determination. President Trump knows that the American story was written by people just like you and I, who love our country and take risks to build a future for our families and neighbors. I may be a Cuban-born, but I am 100% American. This is the greatest country in the world. And I said this before. If I gave away everything that I have today, it would not equal 1% of what I was given when I came to this great country of ours. The gift of freedom. Right now, it is up to us to decide our fate and to choose freedom over oppression. President Trump, he's fighting the forces of anarchy and communism. And I know he will continue to do just that. And what about his opponent and the rest of the DC swamp? I have no doubt they will hand the country over to those dangerous forces. You and I will decide. And here's what I've decided. My decision is very easy. I choose President Trump because I choose America. I choose freedom. I still hear my dad. There is no other place to go. Thank you, and may the good Lord bless America.
Ted, I tell you what, if there's ever been a person I get emotional thinking about that sums up how I feel about this country, and I didn't come from a communist country like him, but my God, Mr. Alvarez is unbelievable. And I don't see how you could listen to him and not get just a tingle go down your spine, so to speak.
I don't understand that either. And, you know, when I saw this, it reminded me back when I was practicing. There was this mechanic from Jamaica, Big Al, we called him. And my truck was having a problem. I thought it was the starter. And I took it to Big Al, and he comes out and he says, "No, Doc," he goes, "you need a battery." I said, "A battery?" I said, "Al, it's the starter." He goes, "No, Doc." He goes, "Let me tell you, when a fish tell you the water is deep, you believe him because he's been there." And I'm like, "Go ahead and change the battery, Al." I don't know what's the battery. This guy's been there. He knows. He knows that which we don't know here in this country because we have been blessed. This guy has lived under that. They fled from it. And the thing, and I encourage people like you did, watch the whole thing because he talks about opportunity. Opportunity in this country, and there's no other place to go if this country fails.
Yeah, and you made that point earlier in the show, and people need to understand that, you know, if America fails, there is no place left to go. Do you really believe that, okay, that Ireland, where Rosie O'Donnell is going to be this peaceful, tranquil place without America? Really? And I mean, on the one hand, they're talking about Russia taking over Europe and all this kind of stuff. Okay, so if that's true, do you really think you're going to be better under Vladimir Putin and the Russians? I mean, it's just unbelievable. There will be no place left to go if America falls. And that's why we joke around a little bit. We like to have fun, but that's why we take what we do so serious, Ted, is because we realize that Mr. Alvarez is right.
He is. And like I said, you know, you've been around, you know, you've traveled, you've been to other places, you've been to socialist countries. And, you know, the left is saying you're going to have free housing. You're going to have government-run grocery stores. Heck, they can't deliver the mail on time. And, you know, they're having a problem with that. I don't want them running my stores. We're going to have free health care. I just saw in the headlines today that Obamacare health care premiums are going up, way up. You know, it was supposed to be fixed. And so when you talk to these people from these socialist countries and they talk about how nice it is, you got free health care, you've got free this, ask them how much they're paying in taxes. They're paying 50 to 55% in taxes, and then they're buying private health insurance. So they're probably spending 60% of their income to to live in socialism, but it's all free, but it's really not free. And so don't fall for that stuff, people. Go to the election. That's why you have to be educated. You have to vote, and you have to vote to protect the system we have. And if you don't like the system, run and change it. Do what you can. If I can get into Congress, anybody can get in there and go in there for a purpose. Don't go in there to wear a pin. Like I said, I've had people call me, say, I want to fill your seat when you leave. And I ask them, why do you want to run? Well, I'm not sure yet. And I told them point blank, I said, if you don't know why you're running, do us and the American people a favor. Don't get in because you're going in there for the wrong reason.
Absolutely. And I was thinking about this, of course, again, as you were talking, we played this video some months ago.
Did I stimulate another moment?
You do. And you were talking about the animal kingdom. Think about this, Ted. Remember that video we played a month or two ago where they had that earthquake out in California, a tremor, and they had the video of the elephants at the San Diego Zoo. All of a sudden,
that's right.
They're young and made a circle to protect. They instinctively knew that they needed to do that. That's what we got to do. That's what we got to do right there, because the tremor is happening. The earthquake, the earth is shaking here in America right now. It could crack apart, but it's shaking. And we need the wisdom of those elephants to circle the wagon, so to speak, protect our young and turn this thing around. That's what we need to do. We need to be as smart as the elephants. Myself. I mean, that's the way I look at it.
You know what? This is an aside. I know it wasn't on the program. As smart as the elephant, as smart as animals. We were talking about, dogs can sniff out cancer. They can sniff out citrus greening in trees. They can sniff out all these different drugs. And so we were talking about how do we do a better job at screening, the containers that come into this country? Because truth be known, only 2% of those containers at best get examined. So that means 98% come in. You don't know what's in it. I said, we just got to get as smart as the animals, get as smart as the dog. And if we can do that, we'll be a lot better off. And we should listen to the animal kingdom a little bit more, since we are.
Absolutely. Well, I don't want people to think that everything is bad news, because there is some good news. And I kind of want to go over that in the few minutes we have left here. And this kind of fits into what you said a few minutes ago, Ted, about educating our young people. Well, House Republican lawmakers are introducing legislation to repeal the charter for the National Education Association, the biggest teachers union, because they're basically saying that they've gotten off their mission. And I don't see how anyone, if the mission is to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic, I don't see how they could argue that, because it seems like by their own admission, the NEA's mission is to indoctrinate our children. You wonder how Mondami could be leading a communist, the greatest city in the world, New York City. It's education, as you mentioned, Ted.
It is. And, I think this is a good thing. This is something we never thought would ever happen. And this is a move in the right direction, because if you look at the amount of money we spend on education, it's kind of like our healthcare in this country. We're spending more per head, per capita, than any other country on healthcare and education. And then you look at the results of our education. We are dropping steadily in math, reading, and science. And it's the money that goes in, 70 to 75, if not more, of that goes into administrative costs. And a lot of that goes into these union representatives and the administration. You have more administration in our schools, and very little of that money is going down to the actual student. And then you look at the course curriculum. It is counterintuitive and productive for America for the next generation. This is something that needs to happen, and you're going to see more of this with Linda McMahon, head of the Department of Education. She's making some great reforms in that. And it's like so many of these other things. It's like the abortion issue. Push it back to the states. Education should be monitored at a federal level to make sure the states are doing what they're supposed to, but it should be the right of the states to do what they want to do as far as how you educate, because that goes back to the experiment of America. It's an experiment. So if the state of Florida does a better job than California, people are going to come here to support this system, and vice versa. And if New York wants to be communist, if California wants to be out of control, God bless you. And you're going to get what you want, and you're going to have the people supporting you until they start devouring you. And Nancy Pelosi can't have a big enough wall with Constantine wire or glass on top of that wall to keep those people out when the tide turns. So you better wake up.
Well, you mentioned education. That's quite all right. The one statistic that always just leaps out to me, and it's been this way for several years, look at Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore, Maryland, which is where one of the new darlings of the Democratic Party, Wes Moore, I think is his name, the governor, wanting to be president. Nancy Pelosi, her whole family made their name in Baltimore, Maryland. Okay.
Right.
You know, and I know you know this, Ted, what percent of high schoolers in Baltimore from 8th grade to 12th grade are proficient in math and reading? How many? What percent?
Was it 6%?
It's zero. Not one single kid in between 8th grade and 12th grade in the inner city Baltimore school system is proficient in reading. Not even percent. Not one person. Not one. Not one person.
Think about
That's
this.
Just frightening.
For the listeners, and listen to this, because high school, these are high schoolers. Those people 5 to 10 years from now are going to be the workforce. Those are going to be the inventors. Those are going to be the scientists, not. So that is what we're producing out of these big metropolitan areas that focus on racism, DEI, wokeism, politically correct garbage. You know, life is tough. And there's one of the quotes of John Wayne I got in my garage that says, life's hard enough on its own, but it's really hard if you're stupid.
Yeah. You can't fix stupid, like that one comedian said. Well, some more good news. We'll just keep going down this list here in a few minutes we got left. President Trump appears to be in good health. They just released an in-depth, contrary to the last administration, in-depth medical records on him, and he's got some typical things that happen to a people when they get his age, a little bit of fluid buildup and stuff like that, bruising of his hands. My dad had the same thing, shaking hands all the time. But overall, the president appears to be in good health, which is a really good thing. And here's one I think you'll like, Ted. CBS has announced the end of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. They basically said that they're going to drop his show. The Late Show period is going to end within 10 months. And they said the decision is not related to Colbert or the show's performance, but it's purely a financial decision. I don't even know what the heck that means, but it means they're not making money. Shouldn't CBS put the show on for free? I mean, why is CBS worried about money?
Well, they say it's not about Colbert, it's about money. Well, if his show was any good, it would be bringing in money. So it must not be very good. So therefore, it must be about Colbert. I think that's a great thing. I used to kind of like him back a long time ago, but then he got so dang political that he was a hatchet job, you know, like all those people on the left. And it was just like, you know, what's scary is a lot of people will listen to him for news, or Jon Stewart. It's not news. In fact, I would guess that Fox and a lot of these other ones aren't real good either. But that's why you need to listen to our show, because it's factual, you know.
The three P's, Political Pirate Podcast. We're on every week.
I got my hat on it.
Absolutely. Monday and Friday every week. And we're going to probably expand in the not too distant future. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. Please go wherever you're watching our show, like it, share it, give your grandkids the homework assignment of watching us. But I'll give you the last word, Ted.
I really appreciate it. And it's just an honor to be on here, to be able to talk to the American people. We want to hear from you. Spread the word, because we have to educate people. This is not a play. We're not playing. America is the greatest country on earth. It has its faults, but yet we can make it better by you being educated, motivated, and get activated in the process. Share this with your neighbors. Let them know what's going on. Let them know the threats that are coming at our way of life. And too many times people are just busy trying to make ends meet to get engaged. But if we don't get engaged, we could lose what we have. So take care. Have a wonderful weekend, and God bless you. And John, I'll be talking to you Monday from the fabulous Florida Keys.
Tight lines, baby. Tight lines.
Tight lines. Take care.
Peace out.